Oh, funny you should say that, because yes, I'm sensing that. So we went back home after that week and began making preparations to pack up our life in Naples, Florida, and move up here to be part of that community. Since then, a lot of things have happened. We're no longer part of that community, but we still have a community here. Melissa Green and Anna Skates have started another community called Imaginarium. And then I also have a little 10 people, I'll call it home church group of my closest friends and peeps that we gather in. So although I'm no longer involved in that original church, there's just so much life here and healing. And again, I had coffee with Melissa yesterday, and y'all are in for a treat meeting Melissa Green on the next podcast. But I really attribute so much of my healing and really learning the message of my belovedness, and that I have inherent worth and value from Melissa, and I'll be forever grateful to her for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that story, because you often hear, and for good reason, sort of the negativity that surrounds religion and how institutions hurt people. And of course, you've experienced that. I've experienced that. I think everybody who's ever gone to a church has experienced that pain. And yet at the same time, these sorts of things can actually be life-saving for people.
Absolutely. And literally.
Not in the realm of metaphor, like literally
life-saving, and that's why the work that you do, Josh, and Morgantown Church and others, it's as I look across the table at you right now, Josh, and look in your eyes, keep up the work, because it is literally saving lives. And I know it must be a difficult road at times, but keep up the work. Because if it were not for people like you and Melissa and others, people like me might not be around. And it was that desperate. So thank you. Thank you for this podcast. Thank you for what you do.
That means the world. But I have to say, it's people like you who have given us the courage.
Oh, well.
Because, so first meeting you, I've known you, 2-3 years now?
2 years.
And first meeting you, before I heard your story, I would have never put that story together, because you are this person of light, and you are a very strong person, but you're also a very kind and compassionate and open person. And hearing your story and seeing the person that you've become, it's inspiring. And I think the only reason people like me have been able to do any of the work we've done is because we've been inspired by your courage.
Oh, well, thank you. It's so funny, because from my side, I had an interesting conversation with somebody recently, and they said, my goodness, your life is like so fascinating. And I was like, really? My life? And they were like, well, yes, look at all the things you've done. You were a chef and a golf pro, and now you want to expand this food ministry and be a chaplain. And I was like, I never thought of it that way. I always thought of myself as just being kind of a failure, because I never experienced great success in those careers. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I understand the real meaning of success, and it has nothing to do with dollars and cents. I realize that. But yet, so much of our American culture, big, better, more, best, the American dream. And so because I never attained a level of success in those careers, I always kind of thought of myself as a failure. And then this person said, no, I mean, you're hugely successful. You're self-taught. You taught yourself to be a chef. You didn't go to culinary school. And then you taught yourself golf. I had never taken a golf lesson in my life, and you become a Class A member of the LPGA. And now you're using all of that to create this new thing where you want to serve and make a difference in people's lives. And I went, oh, okay, well, maybe there is a little something there. And
isn't that the way life is, though?
Yeah.
We can't see our own story, and so It takes somebody from the outside looking at it going, no, actually, you've had a pretty remarkable life.
Yeah.
And you've done remarkable things.
Yeah, that's the case with me, because for a long time, the lack of self-belief and a sense of worth, and looking to everyone and everything else to affirm me instead of claiming my own self, my true self, and being able to affirm myself and know and really live into that belovedness and that sense of worthiness. That's a new thing for me, and it's an ongoing process, and it's great. And some days it's better than others, but it's a process. But it's a good process. It's a good journey. And
on this journey, you've found more and more alignment.
Absolutely.
With this true self.
Absolutely. Alignment, that's a great word. I love that, because it's not discovering a new person, a new thing. It's returning to the person that I have always been and that I've always that I was created to be. But, childhood life happens, families happen, dysfunction happens, and we kind of forget, or I like to say in my case, I never knew my true self. And so somebody said to me, that sounds a little schizophrenic. You sure you're not, I was like, no, it's really understanding the core and the center, the true self, and inherent worth and beauty and goodness and truth. Those are all ours. Yeah. And to have this thought now, or this idea of life, that instead of a childhood that was broken and caused a lot of grief, and then a theology put on top of that talks about separation from a holy God and your unworth, to now embrace life from a place of abundance, and that maybe, just maybe, the universe or God, or however you want to use those terms interchangeably, that the universe is conspiring in our favor.
Right.
What a concept. And that's relatively new to me in the last couple of years. And that's been a wonderful journey. And so now I don't have all the answers. This third chapter, if you will, or iteration of our lives at the age of 60, and my spouse, Denise, is 61, and we're entering into a new chapter. Denise has had a very, very, very successful, highly decorated, successful career in corporate America, and her job was just realigned, is a nice way to say it. And so after this stellar 25-year career, she decided to take a severance package and seek other opportunities. So now Denise is not gainfully employed, and I'm not employed, and here we are deciding, instead of operating from a place of scarcity and knuckle biting and wondering and being willing to accept less than, we are choosing. And it's not, every once in a while we'll have a little moment of fear, but in general we're approaching this next season of life. No answers. We're really in the dark about what's next for us, but yet we're approaching it with arms wide open, with hearts and minds full and ready to receive all the goodness that we know is going to come our way. So just operating from a place of abundance instead of scarcity has been really, really incredible.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Kim Grant.
Yeah.
You're a remarkable human being.
Well, thank you, Josh.
You really are.
Thank you for saying that.
Let's end with this.
Okay.
I would imagine there will be people listening to this, probably pastors, faith leaders, church leadership teams, elders, whatever, who are in communities where they're wrestling with sort of the major issue of our current time, which is what does the church do with the LGBT community? Do we create space? Do we say, of course you're welcome to attend and give us your money, but not your gifts and talents in the leadership? Or do we take sort of this stand that says, no, at the table, everybody's welcome and affirmed? What would you say to those people who right now are, in their hearts they're there, but they're afraid of because there are paychecks, there are reputations, all this stuff is bound up. What would you say to those people?
Well, if you want to be aligned with the true cause of Christ, then you better run to the margins. and scoop us up, all of us, not just the LGBTQI community, but all of us at the margins who have the strength and the desire to still be involved in a faith community. I hope all of you listening run to the margins. Don't walk, run, and scoop us up, because truly, if you want to be aligned with the message of Christ, then you'll find him, and you'll find all of beauty, truth, and goodness at the margins. So welcome us in, because you just may be saving a life, literally and figuratively.
I'm so glad your life was saved.
Thank you.
I'm so appreciate you being with me and having this discussion.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much. Love you, my friend.
Love you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Space Between. If you're a social media person, consider liking and sharing this episode on Facebook and Twitter. You can also subscribe to this podcast in iTunes. Much gratitude to Josh Hampton for graphic design and to Adam Williams for podcast production. You can find me on the web at joshuaadamscott.com, on Twitter as @JoshuaAdamScott, and on Facebook as Joshua Adam Scott as well. I hope you'll plan to join me again next week as we have more conversations about aligning who we are and who we long to become. Until then, be well.